I'm Mario Retana for Group 3 TV covering national identity. This presentation will tell you how the media creates our national identity through fear and blame. Here are a few examples. The media loves to claim musicians responsible for atrocious murders like musicians Marilyn Manson and the band Drowning Pool. Since the Tucson murderer Jared Loughner's favorite video on YouTube was someone burning an American flag to the tune of Drowning Pool's Bodies Hit the Floor, the Washington Post had turned to metal as a scapegoat. The Dallas, Texas band has gone on record stating how they were sorry for the events that unfolded in Tucson, Arizona, and say how this is just another example of their music being misinterpreted. Here's Melinda of Group 3 TV live at Marilyn Manson's concert with more information.
Please first watch this.
Doc Rocker, Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson has canceled the last 5 dates of his U.S. tour out of respect for those lost in Littleton. But the singer says artists like himself are not the ones to blame.
This is perhaps the sickest group ever promoted by a mainstream record company.
After Columbine, it seemed that the entire focus on why the shootings occurred was because the killers listened to Marilyn Manson. 2 years after Columbine, Manson finally returned to Denver.
The Ozfest at Mile High Stadium brings shock rocker Marilyn Manson to Denver tomorrow.
There were protests from the religious right, but I thought I'd go and talk with him myself.
When I was a kid growing up, music was the escape. That's the only thing that had no judgments. You know, you can put on a record and it's not going to yell at you for dressing the way you do. It's going to make you feel better about it.
Some will be so brash to ask if we believe that all who hear Manson tomorrow night will go out and commit violent acts. The answer is no. But does everybody who watches a Lexus ad go and buy a Lexus? No, but a few do.
I definitely can see why they would pick me, because I think it's easy to throw my face on a TV because I'm, in the end, sort of a poster boy for fear, because I represent what everyone's afraid of, because I do and say what I want.
If Marilyn Manson can walk into our town and promote hate, violence, suicide, death, drug use, and Columbine-like behavior, I can say, not without a fight, you can't.
The two byproducts of that whole tragedy were violence and entertainment and gun control. And how perfect that was the two things that we were going to talk about with the upcoming election. And also then we forgot about Monica Lewinsky, and we forgot about the president was shooting bombs overseas, yet I'm a bad guy because I've sang some rock and roll songs. And who's a bigger influence, the president or Marilyn Manson?
Do you know,
I'd like to think me, but I'm going to go with the president.
Do you know that the day that Columbine happened, the United States dropped more bombs on Kosovo than any other time during that war?
I do know that, and I think that that's really ironic, you know, that nobody said, well, maybe the president had an influence on this violent behavior. No, because that's not the way the media wants to take it and spin and turn it into fear, because then you're watching television, you're watching the news, you're being pumped full of fear. There's floods, there's AIDS, there's murder, cut to commercial. Buy the Acura, buy the Colgate. If you have bad breath, they're not going to talk to you. If you got pimples, the girl's not going to fuck you. And it's just this, it's a campaign of fear and consumption. And that's what I think that it's all based on, is the whole idea that keep everyone afraid and they'll consume. And that's really as simple as it can be boiled down to.
Right. If you were to talk directly to the kids at Columbine or the people in that community, what would you say to them if they were here right now?
I wouldn't say a single word to them. I would listen to what they have to say, and that's what no one did.
In the interview, Marilyn Manson was blamed by the media for influencing the Columbine suspects to murder other students and teachers. The students listened to his songs that contain violent and vulgar lyrics. Ironically, America is causing the war overseas and have easy access to weapons, which the media chose not to focus on since news stations are ruled by politicians and powerful leaders. This led to 3 factors that influence national identity news patterns. One is the public nature of American patriotism. Second is how protests are treated in news media. And third is to rely on official sources in a two-party system. After the 9/11 attack in New York's World Trade Center in 2001, the news reinforced American identity by affirming American values and U.S. power dominance, emphasizing unity among Americans and shifting blame for attacks away from the U.S. The news coverage was mainly focused on the war in Afghanistan, terrorist groups, and victims and survivors of the World Trade Center. Mario, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Melinda. Media can also tell us what we need to survive and live a happy life. Just buy these pills and apply that cream and everything will be okay. There seems to be a cure for all needs, and it's big money for big pharma. That plays on our fear and hysteria. Listening to the side effects of these medicines makes you wonder if the pill is even worth it. Watch this.
Other more severe side effects may include
an urge to begin a YouTube channel, turning into a zombie, Minecraft division. For women, an erection lasting longer than 4 hours. For men, menstrual cramps and/or PMS, alien abductions, contracting every phobia known to man, breaking a rift in the space-time continuum,
and even death.
If you happen to die, please contact your doctor immediately.
Can you even believe this?
Broadcasting live from Miami, Spring Break 2016, this is Alivia with Group 3 TV. Another fear created in the media is fear coming from how beauty is portrayed and idolized through advertising. The media likes to tell us what we should like, wear, consume, what not to consume. They do this in a very sneaky way through the agenda setting theory, which is basically the ability of the news to influence us or their target audiences by strongly focusing on certain topics over and over again. This leads the audience to perceive some topics as more important than others. They also try to persuade us by having big text and certain ads or placing news articles above the newspaper fold. Media marketeers often create striking images and catchy phrases so that we'll click digitally on the articles in social media. The media doesn't always reflect natural beauty or reality. They often determine truth and shape it into something that benefits them or their advertisers.
Agenda setting theory, the ability of news media to influence audience by concentrating on certain topics over and over again, leading public to perceive some topics more vital than others. Media often conveys or persuades specific ideas and values related to culture and identity in society, such as placement, size, images, words, and characters. The press and media do not reflect reality, they filter and shape it. Back to you, Mario.
3 levels of news hole related to national identity. Media routine level. Is a story newsworthy enough to be covered in the news? The newsroom can be considered as a news factory where everything is routine and all of the news and research is split up into multiple sections, which can be considered an assembly line. News now needs news/drama, producers/writers, and viewers. News can now be screened before going onto the air so that national identity is highlighted. Extra media level. Systematic factors, size, economy, distance, press, freedom, etc. All sources that journalists use are carefully selected so that they are a rock-solid source. Anything that seems to be fishy is looked over very easily. That means that sources of organizations that might not have a lot of money might be overlooked as sources for journalists. Smaller organizations might not be interviewed. Government regulates the media so that there is a level playing field, so that media companies can play nice to each other. Regulations also ensure that the best interests of the people are served. News outlets try to add fluff pieces to show how our national identity is very nice and not sour like a lot of countries. Ideological level, national identity/banal nationalism. The ideological level shows us the meaning behind their news. News outlets will show that they mean well by talking about how things can be better or worse. Our national identity is seen and examined under a microscope, and we try to figure out who we are and how we could be better. 24/7 news channels are very good culprits. Thank you for spending time watching our Group 3 TV presentation covering national identity. In conclusion, we hope you were entertained, informed, and inspired. On behalf of Group 3 TV, we say goodbye.